Someone is being kind to you right now. Consistent. They text back when they say they will. They remember what you told them last week without being reminded. And some part of you is starting to feel suffocated. Not bored, not unattracted, suffocated. You've started finding small reasons to create distance. A slower reply than usual. A canceled plan you didn't need to cancel. A fight over something that was never really about the dishes. Maybe you've gone quiet for no reason you could explain if someone asked. You don't know why you're doing it. You just know the pull to pull away gets stronger every single day they stay steady. And some nights you lie there wondering if you're a problem. What if you are the one who can't be loved properly? This wasn't weakness. It was a program running exactly as designed. Nothing in you is broken. Something in you is working. Working to protect you from a kind of safety your body was never trained to read as safe. That sentence sounds backwards. Stay with it for a second, because this is where most explanations for self-sabotage go wrong. They tell you that you're afraid of intimacy. That's not incorrect. It's just not specific enough to be useful. Fear of intimacy is the label people slap on the outside of the box. What's inside the box is a mechanism, and mechanisms, unlike labels, can be mapped piece by piece. Start with the mildest piece of evidence. Psychologist Amir Levine and researcher Rachel Heller spent years applying decades of attachment science to adult relationships, and one of their clearest findings was this. People don't fall for what feels good. They fall for what feels familiar. If steadiness wasn't the baseline growing up, steadiness doesn't register in the body as relief. It registers as unfamiliar. Unfamiliar to a nervous system is never neutral. Your nervous system is a network running underneath your conscious mind, scanning everything around you for danger before you've had a single thought about it. To that network, unfamiliar and unsafe can look almost identical. It doesn't wait for you to reason your way out of the confusion. It reacts first. Second piece, a little sharper. This is where attachment styles come in. First mapped by psychologist John Bowlby, then tested directly by Mary Ainsworth in her now famous observations of toddlers separated briefly from their caregivers. Ainsworth found that children whose caregivers were warm but unpredictable, sometimes present, sometimes distracted, sometimes gone without warning, developed what researchers now call an anxious avoidant pattern. They wanted closeness badly, and the moment they got it, they pulled back from it, not because they didn't want the person, because closeness had never, in their whole history, arrived without a cost attached somewhere down the line. So the body learned to brace for the cost even when, this time, there genuinely wasn't one coming. Third piece, and this one starts to sting a little. If your early tempo for love included any version of walking on eggshells, waiting to see which parent you get today, performing to be noticed, staying quiet to avoid setting someone off, then calm doesn't feel like the absence of danger. It feels like the danger just hasn't shown up yet. You're not relaxing into steadiness. You're waiting for it to be revealed as a trick, the way it always eventually was. Psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk, who spent his career studying how early experience gets stored in the body rather than only in memory, has a phrase for this. The body keeps score long after the mind has stopped counting. You can know, intellectually, that the specific person is safe. Your body can still be running last year's math, or last decade's. Fourth piece, the one that explains the specific behaviors rather than just a feeling. Why the slow reply? Why the manufactured fight over the dishes? Neuroscientist Stephen Porges, who developed what's known as polyvagal theory, a model describing how your nervous system shifts between states of safety, alertness, and shutdown, describes something called neuroception. Neuroception is your body's below-conscious scanning system. It isn't deciding whether someone is trustworthy using logic or evidence. It's reading tone of voice, pacing, consistency against a template built years before you ever met this person. When that template says steady equals suspicious, neuroception doesn't wait around for proof. It manufactures a reason to create space, fast, before you've consciously decided anything. The canceled plan isn't random. It's your body's fastest available exit route. Fifth piece, and this is the one most people never say out loud, even to themselves. Somewhere underneath all of this sits a quieter question. Do you actually believe you deserve someone treating you this well? Not deserve in the vague, motivational poster sense. Deserve in the specific, physical sense of being able to receive something good without flinching at it. When the answer to that question was shaped early by inconsistency, generosity from another person doesn't land as a gift. It lands as a debt you're not sure you can repay. Or worse, as a mistake someone made that they'll eventually notice and correct, the way people always eventually noticed and corrected before. Put those 5 pieces together, and you get a very specific, very common scene. Someone new is doing everything right. They show up when they say they will. They ask how your day actually was and wait for the real answer. And 3 weeks in, you catch yourself scanning their text for a tone that isn't there, waiting for the version of them that eventually gets tired of you, the way it always seemed to happen before. When you can't find that tone, you start testing for it. A short reply to see if they'll chase. A canceled plan to see if they'll push back or just let you go. If they pass the test, you don't relax. You just move the goalposts and run it again next week. That's not insecurity in the vague, since people use the word. That's a nervous system running a script that was handed early, checking the same question over and over. Is this the part where it turns out you weren't safe after all? So, where did this actually get built? This is a part almost nobody names precisely, because it happened so early it doesn't feel like an event at all. It just feels like the way things have always been. Somewhere in early childhood, love and unpredictability arrived in the same package. Maybe it was a parent who was warm on good days and distant or sharp on bad ones, and you never knew in advance which day you were getting when you walked through the door. Maybe it was praise that only came after performance, so affection felt earned rather than given freely. Maybe it was simply a house where calm was a quiet before something, never the absence of anything. Whatever the specific shape, your developing brain did what developing brains do with any repeated pattern. It didn't judge it. It didn't weigh whether it was healthy or fair. It just recorded it as the rule. This is what love looks like. This is what to expect from people who claim to care about you. And because that rule got written before you had language to question it, it didn't install itself as a belief you could argue with later. It installed as a baseline your body still checks against, automatically, every single time someone new starts acting steady around you. That's the encoding. Not a flaw, a record, written once, quietly replaying ever since. You didn't choose a recording. You weren't old enough to choose anything. You were just present for it, over and over, until the pattern stopped looking like something that happened to you and started looking like something true about people in general. And here's what makes it so hard to catch in the moment. The record doesn't play as a memory. It doesn't feel like the past showing up. It feels like a live current, entirely reasonable read on the person standing in front of you right now. That's the whole trick of encoding. It never announces itself as old information. It always presents itself as fresh judgment. Here's the part where the science is honest with you instead of tidy with you. Researchers can trace the attachment pattern. They can trace the neuroception, the body stored memory of what love used to cost. What they can't yet fully explain is why some people who live through this exact childhood grow up seeking out chaos to feel a home, while others grow up chasing steadiness. So hard it becomes its own kind of desperation. The mechanism itself is well mapped. The variation between people isn't not completely. Anyone telling you they fully solved that part is selling you a certainty the actual research doesn't have yet. What you can do, right now, is interrupt the mechanism at the one place it's actually visible, the moment right before you create the distance. Here's the testable version. The next time you notice the urge to cancel a plan, start a fight, or go quiet on someone who has done nothing except be consistent with you, stop before you act on it. Not journal about it later tonight. Not analyze it next week in your head. In that exact moment, name what's actually happening, out loud if you can, or silently if you can't. This is safety, and my body is reading it as danger. That's the whole action. You're not required to fix the urge on the spot. You're not required to feel differently right away. You're only required to correctly label what's happening while it's happening, because a mislabeled signal is what keeps the entire loop running on autopilot. Once it's labeled, even once, the exit stops being automatic. It becomes a choice. And a choice, unlike a reflex, can be made differently the next time it comes up. Do that consistently, and something starts to shift. You start being able to tell the difference between an actual red flag and the specific, unfamiliar discomfort of being treated well by someone with nothing to hide. That distinction is the entire game. Most people never learn to make it. They just keep calling both feelings a bad feeling and trusting the alarm every single time it goes off, regardless of whether there's anything to be alarmed about. But knowing why you push good people away only explains half of what's happening here. It doesn't explain what happens in the rare moments you don't pull back, the moments you actually let someone stay close, all the way through the discomfort without finding an exit. That's a different mechanism entirely, and it runs on something your body has had almost no practice doing at all.